My guest here in studio, who I want to introduce at this time. From my immediate left, we have Honorable Anthony Oloch, Member of Parliament for Mathare. Welcome to the program. Fresh from Mombasa, where we saw you at the BBI rally then. You'll be giving us some details. We also have Fred Okango, Secretary General, Third Way Alliance. They announced last week that they are launching or relaunching. Second, would I say next level? Punguza Mizigo initiative? He'll tell us more in his own words. 2.0. I like that. Punguza Mizigo 2.0. He'll tell us what that entails. And last but not least, Honorable Edama Olekina, the Senator for Narok. Thank you for joining us as well this morning. We were expecting Honorable Wambugu Gunjiri, Member of Parliament, Nyeri Town. And when he joins us, we will introduce him to you. All right. Let's get into it. Zinzi, where do we begin? Very quickly, the Daily Nation this morning, this is what you expect to find. Ruto allies retreat to counter Raila wave. We know that Ruto allies, a branch from the Jubilee team, are in Naivasha, actually meeting in Naivasha to discuss matters BBI. Surprise change of heart comes only hours after leaders in Tanga faction of Jubilee attend their rally in Mombasa. We saw Senator Murkomen there leading a team of allies, DP allies, saying, hey, we want to be part of this discussion and we will be there on Saturday. And when Saturday did come, they did show forth. But just also note that there are some individuals who are also in Naivasha. DP supporters say that they are uncomfortable with the ongoing meetings because Raila and ODM have already branded themselves as the public face. Speaking of Raila and ODM, President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga are expected in the US on the 5th and 6th of Feb for that breakfast meeting with the who's who politically and business on the 5th and 6th of Feb. That's what you will find on the Daily Nation. All right, so let's get into it. And I think I'll start with Honorable Oloch just to get his takeaway from the Mombasa BBI meeting. What stood out for you? What can you say was different as compared to previous ones? What was significant in your view?
First of all, I think the coast agenda, other than affirming the BBI itself, the need for a referendum, the need for us to change things, the way they work, the politics, the electoral cycle of violence. I think the big takeaway was, one, that the people of coastal region affirm the need for a system of government that resonate with what they usually used to call Majimbo. There's the issue about the federal system of government. Of course, you've seen opposition to that. You've seen the Nandi governor saying second-term governors cannot be asking for a soft landing, or we cannot get to a cycle where when you go to retire, people are asking for a place to go to. That's a debate that we need to have. I don't know whether we really cast it in terms of a position for the retiring governors. It's a story and a conversation we need to have outside of individuals. The same way we need to have that discussion on the change of the structure of governance at the top, outside of personalizing that this is for Uhuru, this is for Raila. And secondly, I'm glad that they brought out the historical issues about land. The issue about TJRC reports, why we need to change the constitution to ensure that absentee landlords issues are brought in. Of course, there's the issue that was brought up by people like Murkomen, that we have TJRC. I mean, why do we need to complain as leaders when we should ourselves have brought up this issue? It's an indictment on our politicians as well and the political goodwill. I hope that within the context of this BBR issue, we will settle that issue of the coastal land question once and for all. And then lastly, I think there's the issue about the manufacturing and the issue about cashew nut fishing, the blue economy at the coast, and generally the issue about unemployment. That was big time. And then lastly, of course, you saw that the Jubilee wing that has been opposed to this drive to debate this thing at the county level. You remember their position has been that we have accepted tumekubali BBI hizi mikutano za kuzunguka. What are they for? First, they said it was about waste of taxpayers' money. It's a conduit to siphon public funds. But you saw they did come, and there was a public affirmation by Murkomen and his team that yes, there will be a referendum. We support it. And then lastly, he said that this issue of we versus them should end. Unfortunately, now I see they have retreated to Naivasha and we are slowly drifting back to the Weaver system. I hope we don't get there again.
Right. What Honorable Oloch has done is given us an overview of what happened in Mombasa, and we'll take a look at those critical points individually. Allow me to actually take it up from what you've talked about, the structure which was also proposed and which was discussed in Mombasa rally. Very key, because it's something that stood out from the Kakamega one. And let me bring in Fred. You hear the regional leaders in Mombasa talking about wanting a three-tier government where you have the national government led by the president, the regional government led by the regional governors, then you have the county government led by the governors. This three-tier structure that Mombasa region leaders want, is it doable? And can we afford a three-tier government?
Thank you so much. I think before we even answer that question, if you read BBI Report 1, there was, in the report told us that there's an urgent need to have a lean government, both at the national level and the county level. If you read the summary of the report, that's what it says. And they went further and said how they are going to ensure that we have a lean government at the national level and the county level. And therefore, I think, in my own view, while we are considering as a country to have a county government that is strengthened, devolution that is strengthened, maybe by having those regional leaders, but it would be expensive to the common taxpayers. Remember, we said in Punguza Mizigo that there is need to ensure that we lower the burden that is borne by the taxpayer.
Right.
The only way that we can do that is to ensure we don't overburden the taxpayer by creating extra levels of government. Now, I am also aware that the people of Kenya gave their views. And some people, that is what they want. And it is a free democracy. You can say what you want, and then the people will decide ultimately in the final public participation, what you call a referendum. Now, I have also seen Anglican Archbishop Jackson Sapit said the three-tier government will be expensive. I agree. But I want to say this. While we are looking at ways of ensuring that Kenyans are all included, let it not come out as a way of trying to reward certain leaders that probably would be exiting. Because
and that was going to be my question to you.
What is coming out is that the people who are pushing for a three-tier could be governors who are exiting. But I want to say that I have no problem at all with creating a three-tier government. But for as long as that cost is not going to be borne by a taxpayer, because you can create several levels of government, and these are public servants who are willing to offer their service to the people, but whatever goes to them in terms of remuneration must be looked at. If there are people who are coming to help on a need basis, then that is very good. If there are people who are coming to guide on a need basis, that is very good. If there are people who are coming to ensure that the regional blocks are consolidated and work together towards achieving the objects and the objects of devolution, then that is very good. But if there are people who are coming to just make it very difficult for devolution to work, then it will be unfortunate. So for me, I want to urge everyone out there who are giving their views on constitutional amendment. Let us remember that Kenyans are undergoing very hard economic times. Today, we are talking about in every 3 properties, 1 is being auctioned. It means we don't even have money to support ourselves. And therefore, in any constitutional amendment, and as we have posed, we suggest that let us ensure that we look at ways of lowering that burden.
Okay, thank you. I think your point has come across quite strongly. Senator, let me come to you now and pick up from where SG has left off. It seems the governors have become the spokespeople for that particular section or proposal within the BBI, the expansion of government to have another tier, a third tier between the counties and the national government. And many honestly feel that it is a selfish move to give life to their political careers post-2022. In your view, as a senator, Where do you stand on this?
I disagree with your statement because I personally support a three-tier government.
Why?
When you look at, and I'll give you a practical example. When you look at the economy of Narok, Kajiado, and Taita Taveta, which I would propose to be one sort of like regional government, we thrive in the tourism sector. In Narok, we collect about 2 billion shillings a year. That is from the revenue coming from Masai Mara. Narok is the only county that keeps that money. If you go to Kajiado, where they have Amboseli National Park, that money goes into the national government. If you go to Taita Taveta, where they Savo National Park, the money goes into the national government. If, hypothetically, we put this question out there and people agree, then the next thing we'll be doing is saying, can we look at some of the things that we can benefit so that we can be able to improve the standard of living of our people? Then, by doing so, we'll be able to say, now let's consolidate. Remember, we are talking about devolution and sending more money into the county governments. If you look at the coast region, they can create a blue economy. Take Mombasa, take Kilifi, not Mombasa and Kwale, put them together. You know, take Kilifi and Lamu, put them together. They can be able to trade together, make Mombasa a free port. So I think really we've got to look beyond this issue of saying that this is a selfish move by the sitting governors. Who tells you that they are the ones who will qualify for that job?
They are first, they are first place. They are at an advantage financially.
What advantage? No way.
The networks on the ground as well.
I don't believe so.
You know
let me tell you something. I don't believe that a governor in Taita Taveta will be famous in Narok or Kajiado. People don't know him.
But Senator,
so really, it's an issue where we really have to divorce this issue of self-interest or divorce this issue of saying it is going to be expensive. No. Kenya, we have a lot of money. What we need is discipline. If we can be able to realign our existing resources. If you look at Narok as an example, we've got a lot of minerals. If you look at Taita Taveta as another example, there's a lot of minerals. So I think when we're talking about promoting devolution and coming up with this three-tier government structure, we've got to ask ourselves, what is it that we have that we can be able to use to help our people?
Senator, and that's fantastic. The structure in itself might be good as what you're saying, but Vito kwa ground. Kenyans know at the end of the day these structures, 1 minute, Senator, at the end of the day, it's also what SG has said. These structures are fine. But if you're going to put individuals who will come in and not do the work, after 5 years we'll be having this conversation.
What do you mean you put individuals who cannot do the work?
You put in individuals or you vote.
Now, let's put it this way. Then it is the citizens of Kenya. And if you look at Kenyans are upset, just like my colleagues have said here, is that there are auctions on a daily basis. I was looking at the Daily Nation right now, and there are like 10 pages of nothing but auction. So I think it now behooves the citizens of this country to take responsibilities. The reason why we have traffic jam is because the laws allow a lot of importation of old vehicles. If we can be able to now look and say what is working and what is not working, let us think about these regional blocks as economic push for these counties. You know, there's really no point for us to rely on the national government 100%. Even when you look at the issue of urbanization, if you look at most people, then people come from Kisumu, they come from, Kakamega on a one ticket, one-way ticket. They come to Nairobi. I think if we now show people that these regions, there's some good economic boost that can come out of there because of the natural resources that exist, then we will be able to help Kenya develop.
Kenya is a house that is living beyond its means. Can we afford to?
Yes, why not? I don't believe that. I think the problem we have is in discipline. If we discipline and we come up with that's why from the onset, I was very averse with the way the BBI was coming out. But when I went to Mombasa, I was very happy because I had the people of Mombasa speaking. The first day they had...
At which forum? Because I saw and heard a lot of leaders speaking, but the people themselves, at which forum did they...
The people speak through their representations. They elect people to parliament to represent them. There were over 3,000 delegates who met the previous day to discuss. So when they discuss, when you see Amason Kingi speaking, he was actually, what do you call it?
He compiled the views.
He compiled the views, and it was suggested by all the leaders to represent the views of the people of the coast region. So really, I think this time around, it was done in a very good way. And that's exactly what we're going to do in Narok. We're going to ensure that we consult the people, we tell them, this is what BBI is saying, what do you want to add? And then we present it in a public baraza, so that we can be able to ensure that our views are incorporated in the new Kenya.
Honorable Lord, you can hear where we are going with this. I don't know what thoughts you have.
In between this, I think we need to, and again I want to reiterate that we need to take those views as views of Kenyans and not of individuals, because the moment we begin to cast it in terms of individuals, we will lose the debate. But in between these, we need to agree. I'm not quite clear in my mind, myself, about the whole idea. We need to agree, are we going federal? Are we going parliamentary? Are we going presidential? Are we going hybrid? Somewhere along the line in the three-tiered thing, or we are going to say we are doing a Kenyan thing, which herein after will be called, like you say, UK parliamentary or Westminster hybrid, I mean the US presidential. So maybe we want to create a Kenyan three-tier presidential something, a unique model. So we need to characterize this properly. Somebody needs to come, either a constitutional lawyer or any of the guys who advocate this, so that in the minds of the people, we disabuse the idea that three-tier equals more burden to the taxpayers or something like that. If, for example, somewhere along the line, somebody will tell us that over and above the 35%, which we all agree should be increased to the counties, there will be no additional burden. If somebody tells us that we are going to work in the three-tier on the 35% that will come to us, then it occasions no additional burden. That needs to be clarified. Then somewhere along the line, maybe somebody
Although more
should...
salaries will be paid
no
from
more
that.
salaries.
Although more salaries will be paid from that.
I hope somebody
setup
can say that maybe some of the resources in terms of human capital can be rearranged. Yes. If I mean, that somebody needs to clarify these small bits and think beyond just the idea proposed, so that Kenyans settle in their minds that this is not going to occasion more capital, more salary increase, more persons being employed, more vehicles and structures and other buildings being constructed, and 150 million palatial residents for the new governor. You know, I mean, somewhere along the line, if that is settled. Lastly, there is the regional economic blocks. If that can solve the problem, I don't know where that fits in with the three-tier, because you've seen the coast region has come up with an economic block.
Yes.
If that then can be constitutionalized, they have done it within the confines of their own budget, you remember? If we could, and I know the Lake region has their own economic block, they even want to come up with their own banks. If somewhere along the line that can settle it, that is another idea that we need to think about, this idea of three. So in the end, in my view, is that we need to crystallize what is it about this three-tier, and how do we balance it with another view of the public on the same BBI, that we do not want another burden.
All right, we're
so
coming
there's
back.
a balancing that needs to be done.